As the Shohei Ohtani saga continues here, the Toronto Blue Jays are not only in the mix, but they are regarded as favorites according to some industry sources. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. The anticipation is killing us, Nick. It's killing us. We're waiting for Shohei Ohtani to finally make his decision here, and the hours are going by, and we're still not getting any new information. We are getting new information, but no concrete evidence that he's leaning towards one team over another, and those hours that we're talking about are feeling like days and months, and it's just crazy right now how much information is coming out, how much we have to process day in, day out. But the Toronto Blue Jays are right in the mix, and they're looking to make a big splash. They've let that be known in this offseason, and Shohei Ohtani would be the biggest splash of them all. The Jays, they're right in the mix, but now they're being regarded as favorites according to some industry sources, whether it be former GMs, former front office executives, former scouts, even former player agents or current player agents are looking at the Blue Jays as a prime destination for the Japanese superstar. So, Nick, it just keeps getting more and more wild and a lot of information to digest.
Tons. We're back with our daily Ohtani, almost roundtable at this point, but this one's extra special. But before we do get into it, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. Our goal is 12,500 by Christmas. It's ambitious, but you guys have been crushing it with the support in the streams and the videos as well. So go down if you're not subscribed. 70% of you guys aren't. Go check. All right, Peter, let's get into it now. There's a lot of different reports to go through today. Like you mentioned, you basically covered the main sources, and this was the most recent one to drop from Steve Phillips, GM on TSN. He said, I would personally think the Jays are the favorites to land him right now. I would give them a greater than 50% chance of landing him. Now, this is pretty big. He is a former GM. Who knows how many sources he has at this moment, but he's definitely in tune with these kind of things. Peter, I'll just get your quick thoughts on Steve Phillips, whether you think this is legit or not. Obviously, we're all pretty familiar with Ohtani sweepstakes, but a lot more players and GMs and all these guys are starting to name Ohtani to the Blue Jays as a potential favorite landing spot compared to the Dodgers, and I think a lot of that has to do with the longer this drags out, you'd like to think the more it helps the Blue Jays and it lands in the Blue Jays' favor.
Yeah, well, we know that Steve Phillips is a former GM, very credible, knows his information, but at the same time, we got to preface it by saying he does contribute. He does contribute to TSN, and he does want this to be a more regular thing. He wants the Blue Jays to get that kind of attention because he is one of their main reporters when it comes to the Blue Jays. So, yeah, I could see why he would say that, but I think there is definitely some truth to it because we've been saying this for the past couple weeks. If he wanted to be a Dodger, he would have been a Dodger by now. He would have had that deal lined up. He would have been able to remain in the state of California, and he wouldn't have taken a plane ride all the way across the country just to look at the Blue Jays player facilities or the development complex, whatever you want to call it. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at all the signs pointing in the right direction for the Blue Jays. I think they're right there. I think it's a two-team race between the Dodgers and the Jays, even though we got a report the other day that some other teams may have entered the mix. But right now, the Jays look perfectly positioned to make this happen. What I'm worried about, though, is the backup plan. What's the contingency here? If they don't get Ohtani, and it's possible that they don't, what do they pivot to? Who are the guys that they're circling? Is it Cody Bellinger? Is that out of the question? Is it too much money for them to invest in him? So I'm going to be curious to see what the Blue Jays have to say on that front. But right now, I think they're well positioned to make this Ohtani deal done.
Yeah, I completely agree. And let's go over some more of the sources here. So this was from one of the other sources, from Ben Nicholson-Smith, in his article that dropped yesterday. He said, any prediction on Ohtani amounts to an educated guess at best, but Ohtani's list of finalists appears established with the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, the Giants, the Angels, and the Cubs as well. And the last sentence here, or the second last sentence, some observers suggest the Cubs are losing ground, and one rival executive with knowledge of talks now sees the Blue Jays as the leaders and favorites, but for others, the Dodgers remain the prohibitive favorites. So, I mean, the more you go down through the pecking order, the more you'll find some people leaning towards the Dodgers, some people leaning towards the Jays. But, Peter, if we rewind even a week ago, there was really no one, maybe the occasional guy who's not really tuned in at all, who had voted. Everyone was going for the Dodgers, every single person. And now the deeper we're getting in, more executives. We even had John Heyman tweet about the Jays yesterday, which is something he was reluctant to do. It seems like the Jays are starting to pick up ground, and I would not be surprised if they're ultimately his final destination, given what these reports are saying. Based on what we've seen in our life watching these reports and watching some free agencies, I'm starting to lean towards the Blue Jays more than the Dodgers, and I think Dodgers fans are starting to maybe get a little bit worried.
Yeah, well, we gave our percentages in the live stream as well. I went 50-50. I truly think it's a coin flip at this point. Let's hope Ohtani doesn't flip a coin to make his decision. But you went with 40% for the Blue Jays, and I could agree with that. I still give the slight edge to the Dodgers just because of where they're located.
45,
He's
55.
familiar with. Yes, he's familiar with the state of California. He's spent his entire career thus far with the Angels, so that's what he knows. That's what he knows, but I do think there are a lot of advantages to him signing with the Blue Jays. I think the Jays would be much more willing to give him that 2 year opt out where he can go and test free agency again when he's fully healthy and when he's pitching at a high level once again. So I think there's a lot of advantages that the Jays can offer to Ohtani that the Dodgers may not be able to. And I keep bringing up this point. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the Jays have an unbelievable rotation, and there's no pressure on Ohtani to be the ace when he is ready to come back and pitch. So for next year, we know it's a wash. We know that he's not going to step on the rubber for any team that he plays for. But you have Kevin Gausman still. You got Chris Bassett, Mr. Consistent, who hit the 200 inning benchmark, which is huge. I don't know if one of Ohtani's teammates has ever done that in his career. Then you have Jose Barrios, who looks to have bounced back. Yusei Kikuchi, a guy he's very familiar with, which could be another advantage for the Blue Jays in that sense. And then you have Alek Manoah, who's probably the biggest wild card in the rotation right now, but I doubt he's going to be anywhere close to the level that he was last year. I think he's going to have a bounce back. Will he go back to that 2.24 ERA Cy Young finalist? Probably not. But if he's a mid threes to a four, I don't think anyone's complaining. And then you have yourself one of the best three rotations, if not the best rotation in all of baseball. So there are a lot of advantages, like I just mentioned, to Ohtani coming to the Jays. And we've been saying this as well. They're one superstar hitter away, one superstar left-handed batter away from being World Series contenders or maybe even World Series favorites, depending on how you want to look at it. And Ohtani, who better than him to fill that void? So I'm looking at this as a great opportunity for the Jays to get something done. And it's exciting, Nick. We've never been in this position before.
Yeah, and we'll quickly wrap up with a few more tweets and speculations. This is from Incinerator Bob. He's made some things right in the past, got some things wrong, but he has it down to the Blue Jays and Angels, with the Dodgers a close third as well. So there's some people saying the Angels. But to wrap it up here, the Shohei Ohtani is expected to decide on his free agent destination before the end of the weekend, according to John Morosi. So that's, Peter, like a few more days at the latest. But I would suspect he signs probably Friday or Saturday. But at the very least, his decision is nearing. It could happen any moment. And I do think that the Jays are the most well-positioned team to get him right now, alongside, of course, the Dodgers. And ultimately, it comes down to what he wants. He probably knows what he wants, but he's not spreading it out. So any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Just going to be exciting to follow. It's been a great few days here. We're getting more and more reports as the hours roll along. We're going to try to have as many live streams as we can for you guys, as many videos covering this topic. And it's huge news. I mean, we're talking about uncharted territory when it comes to the amount of money that the Jays would have to offer to him, but it's uncharted territory for every team. There's never been a contract above $400 million in Major League Baseball, and that was to Mike Trout, the Angels. So if anyone's probably familiar with the situation that we're in right now, it's the Angels, and I don't think they're in the sweepstakes. So the Jays and the Dodgers are both in unfamiliar waters right now, and it's going to be a race that'll come down to the wire between those two teams. So if it were my money, I'd still lean towards the Jays right now. I want to give them the advantage, and I hope they get it done, because what a piece of news that would be, and what an unbelievable look it would be for next year when you have Shohei Ohtani batting second and DHing for our Toronto Blue Jays. Can't wait.
Yeah, let's hope. It hasn't happened yet, but I agree, and we'll have the news covered for you every single day. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, click on your screen now, and we'll see you tomorrow.